from Georgia State University.
Right. Thank you, and thanks to the committee for including our paper in this session. I noticed that all of us were very scared. The good news is I'm going to be the last presenter for today. So if you can just hold maybe another 2 minutes, then you will all be free. So I hope you find this paper interesting because the idea is quite forward. In this paper, visual information data of AI evidence from corporate executive presentations is a lot of work with Cheng, who is a faculty member at the University of Maryland, Baozhong, me, Yusen, and Yichen, Cheng. We are all at Georgia State University, and I'm a PhD candidate here. So I'm going to start with this motivation. We know that from finance and from the literature that information from corporate disclosure plays a fundamental role in financial markets. So for example, there's no literature and so many evidence is showing that the market responds strongly to the information from CT or earning flow. And those information could be either like quantitative information like financial ratios or numbers, and it could be, for example, textual information like sentences. So in this paper, what we want to do is we want to study very unique and interesting corporate disclosure that has not been widely explored in the literature. We want to study corporate executive presentations, and to be more precisely, we want to focus on the presentation slides. So the reason that it's anti-VPD information from there will be very interesting because unlike the traditional disclosure such as TK, executives tend to include a large number of graphic information in the slides. So it could be, for example, a picture of a future product design. It could be a picture of operation plans. It could also be a picture of just some financial figures or some unqualified pictures like logos or meetings. And sometimes some graphic information is rarely found in other corporate disclosure. So there are so many type of pictures in those slides. And actually, what I'm going to show you is one of our findings is that it seems like market respond very differently to different types of pictures. So, for example, the market doesn't respond strongly to financial figures, but inside it responds very strongly to operational figures. Like if you do show them a picture of your future product, then the market response is significant. So the challenge in this project is processing image data at large scale is extremely costly. Like in this project, we have about 1.5 million pictures, and those image data is very high dimensional and highly unstructured, which are typical characteristics of alternative data. The question that we would like to answer or ask in this paper is that whether and how we can use machine learning to help extract the valuable information from those visual data and help make investment decisions. So that will be the first question that we want to answer. And in addition to that, because processing image data is very costly and it might require skills related to artificial intelligence or machine learning, we would like to say that if we want to use the graphic information as a setting to test whether AI technologies has created an AI division. So AI-equipped financial institutions might have some informational advantage because they can better utilize those type of data. And to be more specific, we want to say the sensitivities of the trades for different market participants to the valuable visual information we extract by machine learning from the presentation slides. So in short, we have two research questions in this paper. The first question is whether and how we can use machine learning techniques to extract valuable information from visual data and help investors understand the business operations of corporations. And then the second question is we're interested in that if AI technologies created AI division, so like AI participants are rewarded with informational advantage because they can either use those type of data. So to give preview of some of our key findings, the first finding we have is that we find visual information about forward-looking operational information. We call this operations forward. This type of information is positively associated with short-term abnormal announcement returns around presentations. And we don't find significant relation of other types of visual information. For example, if you only have a picture about your existing product, then we don't find significant market response. We don't find significant stock price change. And if you have a picture about the logos or images, then we don't find market response. And the second finding is that we find that operations forward is positively associated with the future sales and earnings up to 2 years following the transition. So this will be like the channel of the why the price is impacted, because we find that actually operations forward can predict future cash flow of the firm. And the third finding is we find the relation between operations forward and announcement return is more prominent for stock with high AI ownership. So basically what we do here is we kind of calculate the AI relatedness of the financial institutions in our sample using the burning mass geopolitical data. And then we divide institutions into AI related and non-AI related. Then we kind of decompose the traditional IO measure, institutional ownership measure, into AI institutional ownership versus non-AI institutional ownership. So we find that our main finding between the visual information and market return, stock price change, is more prominent for those stocks followed by or AI institutions. Our last finding here is we find the holding change of AI institutions around presentation date is positively associated with operations forward. We don't find such a relation for the trades of non-AI institutions, and we don't find such a trade for retail investors. So as for contribution, in the interest of time, I'm going to quickly go over this list. So we will firstly contribute to the literature on the impact of AI in the financial service industry. So by showing that one can use machine learning to extract valuable visual information from those slides, our paper provides direct evidence on the value of visual information extracted by AI. And also we contribute to the literature that applies machine learning and deep learning techniques in financial applications. Our paper introduces novel measure to measure visual information in corporate presentations using deep learning models. And lastly, we also contribute to the literature on the value of visual content in corporate disclosures and news. So we differ from a couple of recent papers that we focus on a visual setting where the narrative of visuals is limited, and we focus on graphic information on product and operations. So as for data, we collect a comprehensive data size of 51,879 corporate presentation slides from slide deck from Bloomberg and corporate websites. So our sample is from 2005 to 2018 because actually we started this project already back to 2020. So you see that our sample is 2018. So our sample include many kinds of presentations. So for example, broker hosted conferences, non-deal roadshows, IPO roadshows, or annual general meeting, capital market day, or conference call. And then we just merged with the content source such as Brit and the Comstat and Thomson Reuters. Our final sample consists of 464,765 slide pages from 17,277 corporate presentation slide decks associated with an average of 1,022 firms per year. So to give you a general look on our sample, so this figure plots the number of corporate presentations by year. So as you can see, the blue bar represents the number of all kinds of presentations for the year in our sample. And then the orange bar is for the presentations with operations forward information. So I'm going to talk about how we define that later. And then we use this yellow then to represent the ratio of presentations with operation forward innovation to the all kinds of presentation. So what we can see from this figure is at least in our sample, we see that first, I think like the number of presentations increases over the year. And second, and what's more interesting is that it seems like in the recent years, firms are more likely to have a picture of original forward-looking innovation into their slides. So like in recent years, it seems like firms have more pictures for their product designs or blueprints or any kind of original forward innovation to the slides. And then this figure plots the monthly distribution of the presentations in our sample. So the blue bar represents a distribution of the most recent 10K releases associated with the presenting work. So we just want to use 10K release date as a comparison here. As you can see, the blue bar is clustered in 30 months, right? So mostly in February. And in contrast, the orange bar represents the presentation dates distribution. So we can see that we don't see any obvious cluster in any months, and it's pretty even over the year from January to the December. So just to give you general look on our sample. So now I'm going to talk about how we classify images to the how we extract valuable information from those visual data using machine learning. So our classification method is as follows. So each slide page can be classified into one of the three categories. First category we have here is we call this operation forward. So it has to be first forward-looking information, and second, it has to be operational information. So examples would be like future products or blueprints, construction sites, or development plans. So to give you some examples, what we have here on this page is on the left-hand side, the first figure is a picture of a construction site, which is something to be completely future. And on the right-hand side, this is a figure of a blueprint. And then we also have some examples of the product design. So this will be the vehicle models that the firm is going to release in future. So in contrast to the first category, in the second category, we have operations summary. So this will be still operational information, but all of the information should be backward looking. So it could be a picture of the existing product. It could be a picture of like existing services, operations, or programs. So to give you some examples, what we have here is on the top line, this is a figure of the machines produced by some factories, and on the top right, we have a picture of shopping mall operated by the corporation. And at the bottom, we have a picture of a summary of their business operations. So these are operations backward. And the last category is actually a very broad category. We call this other, but it actually includes many subcategories. So the first subcategory is financial figures. So it could be a bird or a pie or a plot or chart. Second subcategory is uninformative pictures. So it could be logo, it could be image. And last subcategory is if a slide is mostly about text, then we also classify this slide page as others. So this would be examples of this category. So with regard to the machine learning models, basically you can think of the whole task as a classification, image classification job, right? So essentially, what we try to do is we try to classify each image into different categories. So we refer to two algorithms, two models here. We interpret the first model we have is, of course, convolutional neural network, which is very commonly used for image processing. And then the second model, second algorithm we have is transfer learning. So basically, we use transfer learning to incorporate publicly labeled data picture database into our models. So we can improve the prediction accuracy, and we don't have to have really huge, crazy training size. So in particular, we fix the parameters for the convolutional layers as those learned from BGG16. So as for training process, very roughly speaking, we start with a random sample of 3,000 images directly from our whole sample, and then we manually label those things to different categories. We have a workflow on the labeling process, which is on the online index. So basically, to follow those algorithms to label each image into one of the three categories. And they will cross-validate each other for, and then we just train the model. We're gonna check with the test performance, and then we just repeat the process, and we just keep adding features into the training sample until we achieve a very good acceptable model performance. So our final training sample consists of 20,000 images. So it sounds easy, but actually it took us more than 6 months to finish this time, because as you can imagine, we had to have a very training sample of very high quality. We had to do a lot of manual work to label those images, and we have to cross-validate each other's work. So at the end of the training process, we end up with a deep learning model that integrates transfer learning and CNN. And this model gives us an overall accuracy of 80%, which is not very high, but it's acceptable at least. So we use that model that integrates say and transfer learning to we apply the model to predict the categories of all the images in our sample, and then for final measures at the presentation level for each presentation. Operations forward is defined as the number of slides with operations forward images to the total number of slides. And then operation summary is similarly defined as the number of slides with operation summary images to total number of slides. So these are our final measures used for analysis at the presentation level. So, and for empirical results, our firstly, of course, what we want to see is we want to see what should be the what would be the stock price response to the visual information in the slides. Our hypotheses here are actually quite intuitive. We conjecture that operations forward contain new and valuable information for investment, while operations summary might have been already incorporated into the stock price. So as for empirical design, the key challenge here is that how do we control for the confounding factors? The basic problem is that in particular, we need to control for the text information. So in the slides, it's just redundant to the textual information, right? So what we do here is, in addition to including all those commonly used textual controls like sentiment, we also include two important control variables here: textual operations forward and textual operations summary. So what we do here is we basically return the same model, exactly the same model, but this time we only use the text in slides as input, and then we have a model. So those slides, although convolutional neural network is not a very effective model for text classification, here the reason that we have exactly the same model is because we want our textual operations forward to be consistent with our image based measures. So here are our results. So basically, we use cumulative optimal return in different windows and dependent variables. And what we find here is First, we can see from this table that operations forward is positively and significantly associated with the cumulative annual return -3 but we don't see such relation between operation summary and the short run cumulative annual return. And also more importantly, if we compare column 1 to column 2, also column 3 to column 4, we see that when we include the textual information into control, the relation between visual information and cumulative number return still holds. So this implies that it is the visual information that they currently respond, but not the textual information. So question?
Yeah, learning that we're in, visual information is not hard. It's not like that. Yes, later there are some slides about overlooking more visual. But why does it come out positive internal news? Why there's a problem? You're not targeting better the visual information. That's a different concept.
Right.
So whether it's wrong.
Yeah, so what we have here is it's not just a forward-looking visual information, it's visual information about the operations. So basically, you show to the market that you have some visual information on the, for example, future product to be released in the next few months. So that's that essentially our definition of this forward. Okay.
I guess the question is, the visual information is not signed, it doesn't mean positive or negative. So maybe there's something going on that maybe there's a selection process that term tend to make good use more.
I see. I can differentiate. Yeah, I can differentiate what if the visual information in the negative thing, right? So what if I just show them bad thing about future operation, or what if the executive thing the visual information is good, but the market does not believe so. So actually we thought about that, but in this version of this is a very good comment. In this version of Drive, we don't really incorporate that into the consideration. But I think definitely we can try some more to capture. It's actually very hard to do so if we want to capture whether it's good visual information or bad visual information. So next, we also explore whether visual information is related to the firm's cash flows in the long run. So we know that the information can affect stock price filter channels, the discount rates and the future cash flows. So given that firm's disclosure of prospective operations is unlikely to be directly related to discount rates, we thus expect it to influence stock prices from the cash flow channel. So what we do here is that we test on the relation between operations forward in the slide and firm's future cash flow practice. So in this figure, we use earnings proxy for cash flows. We find that operations forward is positively associated with earning in the fourth quarter and second year following the transition. And this relation is similar if we replace the dependent variable with sales. So basically, this one suggests that operation forward is positively associated with sales and also earnings. So their practice for cash flow in the fourth quarter and the second year following the transition. So we also test on whether analysts' revisions are sensitive to the visual information in the slides. So what we have here is we have two dependent variables, revision direction and revision change. So what we find is that it seems like analyst revisions are positively associated with both operations forward and operations summary, but the magnitude is larger for operations forward. So that's our findings here. So far, what we have seen here is that operations forward information extract machine learning from presentation slide positively predict short-run monthly returns and long-run cash flows. So the next question we would like to explore is how do different market participants utilize the visual information presentation slides. And to be more specific, we want to say are AI-equipped financial institutions, non-AI-equipped financial institutions, and the really retail investors to trade differently on the visual information in the slides. So to measure institutional trade of product predicting firm, the proxy we use here is that we follow the literature, we follow Abis and 2020, and we follow Abida and others 2021. We estimate the AI labor stock of financial institutions in our sample based on jobs data. So basically, let's say if you hire somebody if you repair the artificial intelligence related skills in your job posting, and we estimate the AI labor stock. And then we calculate the aggregated AI equipped versus non-AI equipped institutional holding change for the predicted firm using Thomson Reuters holding data. And to measure the retail trace of the predicted firm, the proxy we choose here is that we follow Bumper and others 21. We estimate the aggregate market order imbalance using the type data. So in the interest of time, I'm going to skip the details on the construction of these measures. And I'm going to jump directly to the findings. So what we find here is that first, we find that the holding chain of AI-equipped institutions around presentation date is positively significantly associated with operations forward. But we do not find significant relation for non-AI institutions. So that at the institution level, and then at the retail level, we may use the market or retail order imbalance as the dependent variable. We do not see any relation between the retail trace and the visual information in the slide. So either operations forward and operations summary. So that's the finding here. And then we also find that the relation between operations forward and abnormal returns around corporate practices is more, since it's our main finding. Our main finding is more prominent for stocks with high AI institutional ownership. So these findings suggest that it seems like the AI can help investors to utilize the information. So AI equipped financial institutions can better utilize this part of information. They have the informational advantage and their traits are very sensitive to the valuable visual information we extract by machine learning. Right, so to conclude, in this paper, we use machine learning to extract informative information from visual data. And to be more precisely, we extract the information from corporate presentation slides. And we find that first, the operations forward information extracted by machine learning from slides positively predict short-run monthly returns and long-run cash flows. And second, we find that only the trace of AI institutions are sensitive to operations forward visual information. So that's our main conclusions here. So thank you so much for my presentation. I'm looking forward to extracting my comments.
The impact is the rebound from Chinese University of Hong Kong.
First, I want to thank the conference organizers to holding this conference. It's a great pleasure and also a great gathering from with other local colleagues. So one has been a great presentation of all the papers. I will not just repeat these details. So in a nutshell, the authors find that appropriate executive presentations contains useful information for the future firm fundamentals and also stock returns. And the authors apply similarly to train an AI algorithm to classify pictures into different categories: operation forward, operation summary, and others.
And we also find that picture classified as operation forward is strongly linked to stock cards. And more important is that this reproducibility only exists among the AI-equipped financial institution investors, but not for those traditional institutions and retail investors. And this result support that AI-equipped institutions has an information protecting advantage. So this one is quite interesting to me. So I did some research myself online, and I do find like very similar patterns like the answers find. For example, here I list several presentation slides I find from different companies. This one is the company Pfizer. So it seems like they are holding kind of like standards like us. That they introduce some scientists to present some of their findings and new product, but then it's related to the virus product. And then during the presentation, you can see that there are multiple types of information, pictures. Like they list the project for the Pfizer's long-term goals, sales and earnings, and also they also have some like operation summaries, like the total sales of the BioNTech COVID vaccine. And also some product that will be launched soon to the market, like this one. I don't know exactly the scientific term for this, but I can help somehow lots of problem. And another example is the company Boeing. This is actually an industry conference organized by Bank of America. Very recent, just in March this year. So in the conference, you can see actually the CEO of Boeing was giving a speech, and in that slide, you see that there are some ongoing project of Boeing and also some newly started business. So it is true that those corporate executive presentations, they contain substantial information, especially those pictures about the company's, futures, plans, therefore linked to the stock prices and important to the retail investors. Okay, then back to my major comment. My first major comment is about identifying whether a picture is forward-looking or existing summary. My first impression is that this is quite challenging, not only for AI, but also for human beings. So here I use an iPhone as an example. So you can see that I have 4 pictures of the iPhone, and they are actually different versions from iPhone 14 to 12. But you can see that I use iPhone myself, but even for me, it's very difficult to identify which is which. I have know that the first one is iPhone 14 because it has this dynamic island feature. This is only introduced in iPhone 14. But even for this dynamic island feature, for this black bar, if there's no content or there's no keywords around this black bar, like this last one, this last pictures, I think it's quite difficult for even for people to identify which is the new version and which is the old version. Because the last picture is actually iPhone 12. I don't even mention that in the middle, you can see these 2 iPhones. This second one actually is the iPhone 14. And that is actually on iPhone 13. So you can see actually the only difference between these 2 pictures is color. So that is something that I'm a little bit concerned is that whether we can really identify a product as a new product or old versions, especially for some companies, they have like those products are very similar to each other. And even though that we can identify whether it's a new product, forward-looking, or some existing product, another challenging part about the author's design is about the concept of time, that they want to let the machine understand the concept of time. That is also very challenging, right? If you think about a traditional picture, right? A dog is a dog like 2 years ago, but after 2 years, it's still a dog. But here is that a picture, it is classified as a forward-looking, let's say some new product 2 years ago. But maybe after 2 years, it is not a forward-looking anymore. It is become existing summary. So because it's changing, so it's like you're trying to identify an ex-ante picture and ex-post picture, which I think is also challenging. But I do think actually the authors are asking a very important question because that is actually what finance care, right? The time, the value of the time. I don't want to just raise these issues and leave the others to think about this question. So I thought about myself. My first thought is that I feel, because I did some research myself, I feel that some of the keywords around or inside pictures actually is pretty important to make the algorithm work well. I think actually the others also notice that. So when they train the models in the papers, they do mention that they include some of the keywords and some word inside the picture to do the classification, which I think is a pretty good choice, very important choice. So having said that, following this logic, I'm thinking whether we can just do a similar thing for the text. Like I know like the authors actually they have a texture tables in the paper, but currently the versions they use is the logarithm sentiment measure. So they calculate the positive word, the negative word, and construct that, and they do not find any predictive power, but they only find for the visual signals. What I thought is that maybe that is not very comparable, because for pictures you are actually using some very advanced machine algorithms, machine learning algorithms. But for the textual, actually you're using some traditional lexicon-based approach like the logarithm stationary. So I would suggest maybe you try also use a similar technique for the text information, because CNN actually can also apply for text. And also do similar things, right? You classify those keywords or maybe some text in the slides as operation forward, operation summary, and others, and see and construct this text signal and let these two signals compare and see whether they can beat each other or whether this visual signal can still survive after you do this comparable trainings for the text. If it still survive, I think I will be like very convincing about this result. Yeah, this is my first and also major comment. I know it's very challenging, but I think this is quite important to make it clear. My second major comment is about the informations or explanations of this reproducibility. So currently, the authors explain that this reproducibility is driven by those AI-equipped institutions trainings, because they have this information processing advantage. They have they hire those AI people, so they are able to process those pictures. I was thinking about an alternative explanation based on information asymmetry. You know that most of those conferences, especially organized by brokers, they are financial only. They're not open to retail investors. So you need to be trying to be big enough to be invited. That's also a problem, because if some of those slides or some of those presentations are not available for retail investors or some small fund, they may even don't know this. So you actually have this information advantage. It's not because you have a better information processing, because it's because you have, but other people don't have it. And that's what the problem that maybe it's because those AI firms are correlated with some of large players in the game. And you know, those like algorithm trading, AI hedge fund, they are very popular clients for the brokers. So I have this concern, but I also thought about some solutions. So one possible solution I thought is that maybe you can also control for the institutions AUM, so that trying to reduce the concern of information asymmetry. Or more effectively, I thought is that maybe you can separate the samples, your those picture samples into two groups. Those presentation weights available to the public or not available to the public. Right? I know that you actually like something from the Bloomberg. I think that's actually a good identification, because retail investors mostly don't use Bloomberg. So you can maybe separate the examples on those slides that you collected from Bloomberg and also from their website. Because I know that most companies they post their presentation slide on the website so that everybody can accept. So you have these different examples. If you can find consistent patterns between these two groups, then I think it will be very convincing, because to reduce this information asymmetry concern, because retail investors can also have this access for those public available pictures or presentation slide. So this is my two major comments. The rest of it just my comments. The first one is that when you study the market segmentation analysis, it's actually work. You look at so currently you look at the site, the trading activities. I'm thinking whether you can also run our regressions, so you forecast stock returns, but including interaction terms between the picture categories and the market participant, different market participants, because you said like your capturing that sensitivity Cheng. So the first idea I have in my mind is including that interaction term. And the second minor comment is it's not a comment, it's just my curiosity. Actually, I'm curious like whether you have find any patterns between the presentations with and without pictures. So this question actually is motivated by this also another paper by Meng Wang and Cheng, also both paper. So what they find is that they compare the annual reports with and without a graphic content. And they find actually the annual report with graphic content has an abnormal stock return. But their explanation is different. Their explanation is about attention and more efficient communication. But why I asked this is because when I'm doing the search myself, I noticed actually many of those exactly presentations they totally online. Many of them actually did not contain any pictures. Like very short slides, only two, or one slide only with titles, and the second one is just some bullet point to describe those forward-looking statements. I don't know how you are dealing with this examples currently, whether you drop it up or whether you just drop them or you treat them as zero. Because if you do this type of analysis, I think it can provide actual evidence to support. Like for example, if you do not find any those trading response to those non-picture presentation slides, and you only find the result exists in those presentations with pictures, that's going to be another evidence to support that actually people or those AI institutions, they are processing those pictures and trade on that. And the third comment, actually, this is like a very tiny issues, is that we currently classify the tables and chart as others, but not operation summary. But what I think is that, yes, when I see those pictures, those tables and charts, most of them actually is about summary, right? You have this total sales and sales growth in the past. So I'm not sure like whether it would be better to classify them as others or operation summary. But I don't think this reclassification will change anything. Because your focus is the operation forward. So whether you classify as others or operation summaries, I don't think it matters. But just about some small issues I have in my mind. The last minor comment is about the cash flow information that you're trying to explain this return variability. So currently you attribute that to a cash flow information because the patient signals forecast long-term earnings and sales, which I think is good enough. It's already like very promising. But what I thought is that whether you could provide some direct evidence. For example, can you just use this singular evidence to classify those pictures into different topics, right? Let's say you see that some of those operation forward actually is mostly related to those sales, earnings, especially long-term sales, right? Because you actually have the result is that it only predicts the long-term earning and not short-term earning. If you can find like similar descriptions in the picture that it is related to this long-term, right? You have some keywords related to long-term, that will be a direct evidence to support your explanation and story. Okay. Yeah, that's all I have. I think I just have 30 minutes, 30 seconds left. Overall, it's actually quite interesting paper, and actually, I really like the idea that you use the AI job listing to measure or to classify the AI equipped institutions. I don't have time to kind of give comments on that. And also, that single cloud transfer is quite uniform. So I'm quite innovative. Yeah. That's all I have for the presentation. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for such wonderful and for comments. And in response to quick response to some comments. The first, we do look at the keywords. Actually, our panel does not only look at the image. If there are some tag divided in the image, there is also considered into our final deep learning model. And this is very good suggestion. Actually, if you give example of iPhone, that would be we believe there will be some of the cases that our model failed to detect. So if you only look at iPhone 15 versus iPhone 12, and then without any other technical information into the slide, then it's going to be almost impossible for our model to detect whether it's forward-looking or backward-looking. But we thus achieve an accuracy of over 80%. That means like in some other cases, for example, if you compare the blueprint to past factories or buildings, then it's easily to be detected by human, and there's also it could be trained by to do this. So for some other comments. So if a slide does not have any image, then the slides will be classified as others. So actually, if you look at our results, we care more about the relationship between operations forward to the unknown return. So in other words, if the slide doesn't have any image information, then the operations forward measure will be 0 on that transition, and as well as the operation backward measure. So for the type of presentations, actually we thought about doing this. So we thought about to kind of do some subsample analysis for different types of presentations, like internal presentation versus external presentation. We actually look at the cover page of the slide. So sometimes in the cover page, you can say the location and the time of the presentation, and then you can use this to extract information on whether it's internal presentation versus external presentation. However, because like I said, the data is very unstructured, like we failed to do this for the full sample. So what we did is we actually run this slide about 200 presentations. I cannot give estimate accurate estimation on how much percent of the presentations in our sample is external. But if we just use the random sample, then we say that about over 70% of the presentations are external presentations. Yeah, I want to say thank you again for all those helpful comments, and I'm open for other suggestions or questions.
Since we talk about even the way we'll figure out that the time goes good at 8 so I open the floor. So yes.
Those about AI distribution ownership, sample changing ownership by AI institutions is great, or maybe good in the sense that it suggests that I think that you mentioned they have some advantage. But I believe I shouldn't say there's a question man versus machine, right? So maybe now I could imagine AI technology is good, but not in 2010, maybe, right? And so I'm not even sure now I'm thinking about like me being a fundamental analyst 2010. I particularly in the presentation, it's hard to imagine just using my brain, my eyes, I couldn't come out with what the AI technology back, which is different from what it can do now. So
that's a very good question. Actually, I have a different view on that because I think right now, for we use AI lower and lower. So if you look at our period stops at in 2018. But like we have ChatGPT right now, and the OpenAI is going to release image processing models like in few months. So I think because the more to percentage might become lower and lower in the future, we might expect to say that not only AI related financial institutions have the ability to that maybe more institutions or even retail investors like for myself, I can use like GPT or other models to process the image data. And in short, but I think that's a very good suggestion that we're going to check with the recent data to see the part of persist or disappear like recent years.
Thank you.
I think the issue here is seems to me that, probably, just like you said, we have ChatGPT. And early, the various products. So always in the presentation, they will put a picture, right? And always based on your story, the people and investors will see that, and then there will be attention, right? But the thing is, it needs just like what I described, was going on paper and on storage. So there is and they share the analysis, right? And they don't have the attention. And obviously they don't think about how you do, right? So when ChatGPT doing well, right? I mean, their story, I mean, 10,000 feet. I mean, I'm really surprised that people are only looking at the news. Indeed, the panel storage is one of I only makes sense to create the content the news or the content of kind of potential storage. In my opinion, we should compare it with the analysis storage. Yes.
Yeah, that's also a very good question because if we actually have thought about that. So if a firm, presenting firm is powered by many medias, then you actually don't really need the artificial intelligence, you still have slides. But for the large sample, like there's so many presentations over the years, so we also may not be able to capture all the presentations. So we can use the attention index to kind of do some analysis for presentations followed by different attentions that we have different results. That's a very, very good suggestion.
Okay, so let's close the floor. Okay, so let's